Hello, Punk. How you going?
Good, good. It's good to be here.
It's good. I just spoke like just 5 seconds ago. Like it's actually past my bedtime now. It's like fucking 9 p.m. on the west coast. I'm like, man, I need to go to bed, bro. Like
Yeah,
you're in
getting
Boston
old,
currently,
mate.
right?
No, I'm Vancouver man now.
Oh, Vancouver. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. What time is it in
Yeah, that's
Vancouver right
right.
now?
Same time as LA, so 9.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. It does feel like I'm getting old. I'm like 30 this year too, so I'm like, bro, it's
Getting
uh
on.
it's not sunk in just yet that I'm hitting 30, but I mean, that's fine. I don't mind to go
Yeah,
to
no,
bed early. I get to get up early.
fair
Um,
enough.
Season obviously is going to start pretty soon, so I wanted to talk to you just not only about the season, just about yourself as well, because I think the Overwatch League does an okay job of highlighting players, but like personalities and stuff don't really come out. So I kind of wanted to just get into the weeds with you and just kind of talk what's good and how you feeling on Vancouver right now. Obviously, brand new team, brand new country as well, mind you.
Yes, no, that's great. I been here for like a month now, so I'm settling in well to the city and whatnot. We've got a great apartment, whatever, so can't complain about any of those sort of things. And the team's looking good too. I think Uh, we've got some stellar DPS. His thing is the main star of our team, um, with Aspire and Sugar Free. But yeah, no, I'm keen. We've been going at it for a month and having good practice, and it's been good fun.
Good fun. Well, that's obviously good to hear. It's nice having a team that you can have fun with. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
not, you don't want to be on a team where it's kind of I guess the atmosphere is kind of shitty. Have you ever been on a team where that's been the case, where it's like a little bit, oh, don't want to be here kind of thing?
always yeah. I mean, I was with Boston for 3 years, 4 years, 5 if you count the
Right.
academy. So I've seen a lot of different players and players' approaches to just being a professional player. Some people don't care. Some people are just there because they like to play the game, and when it comes to it, they can't really handle kind of the crunch time of being a pro. And in the Overwatch League, I feel like a lot of teams get to go through the ups and downs of that, and so yeah, I've had my fair share of players and teams of struggles.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to name any names. Don't want to throw anybody under the bus just yet. I mean,
Nah,
you wait till you retire before you could do that in the big
exactly.
ultimate level. Nah, no meme. Like, it must be quite a difficult time being that kind of situation. Was there any kind of times before that, like when you were not in the Overwatch League, not in like the academy team? Were there any teams that you were like kind of happy to get out of? And well, let's just start from the very beginning. Like some of your first teams in, I guess, professional Overwatch. Like, how did they end up running, and how did you kind of make it to academy?
Yeah, well, I think professional is definitely a loose term from where I started
Sure.
because, we I think the teams in Australia were just pug teams, and I remember my first ever tournament, which I did, was for I think $100 for the whole team,
Oh
uh,
hell yeah.
and it was like a weekend thing, so it was true like just people were just playing for fun. Um, and I think I only did one of those for a couple weeks after I'd played. I played a lot of ranked, and that's how I got on the team at the time. It's a very close knit community at the time, and everyone knows everyone. So ranked was the way to get to know people. Um, and once I had my first team there, I moved on to like my first, probably semi-professional, um, with Darksided, which
Oh yeah.
was one of the first organizations or like teams to actually be invested slightly in Overwatch Australian in the Overwatch Australian scene. So we got free gear through the sponsors. Like I remember I got a monitor, I got a keyboard, and I was stoked at the time. I was like 15, 16. I was like, this is cool.
Hell yeah.
Um, I had to show mum and dad a contract for the first time for a random team, and that was an
You're
interesting
like, no, but I'm
conversation.
getting free stuff. Like,
Yeah.
look at this monitor and this mouse. They're like, okay.
Well,
How
yeah.
did
For
how
all
did
for
that
all
go
they
down?
knew, it's like for all they knew, I was just playing games, with my friends downstairs. And then the next thing, I just come to them with a contract. I'm like, oh, I want to play for this club basically, and it's this full on contract, 30 pages long, all this legal jargon and stuff that my dad was very skeptical at the time, um, which most people probably wouldn't think by his perception now of the game. He's always out and about on Twitter and
Yeah,
whatever. So
that's a bit of a legend.
yeah, he was the first one to be kind of. He wasn't not supportive, but he was just very skeptical. I'd say
Right.
mum was probably the one helping me a bit more. But yeah, it was interesting.
What was the first thing they said when you like handed them the giant wad of documents? Like, they want to give me stuff and I can play games. Did they know you
Yeah.
were kind of good at the time as well? Did they know you were like decent at games, or is it just kind of you didn't really discuss that with your parents?
Uh, I mean, I always told them that I was okay, and
Okay.
I told them like, oh, I played against this guy, or something like that, and they're like, oh yeah, cool. Um, and I think the first time my dad saw that I was like pretty into it was when there was a CS:GO tournament in Sydney, the IM,
Oh yeah.
which was the first big like international CS:GO or like any sort of esport tournament that I really wanted to go to, and so I took him there, and that's when he had like really no idea what was going on, but he saw like in reality that there was a lot of these gamers filling this stadium just to watch these guys play, and he could see that I was like pretty keen on it, and I got to meet some of the Brazilian CS guys and super nervous waiting in line for their autograph. So um, that's when he saw it, I think. And I think the first thing they said when I gave them the papers and said that I wanted to do it was they said you have to keep an average of a B or something
Oh,
in my
okay.
grades. They were like, you got to keep doing school. You can't just give up, because I'm sure they've heard stories of people just flogging out of school because they wanted to play games. But as long as I was doing okay, or like just retaining the grades that I already had, then they didn't see a problem with it.
So you were still getting the B then, luckily.
Yeah,
You were still up
dipped
there,
down into some
thankfully.
C's, but
I mean,
that's
that's
all right.
fine. C is close to a B. I was a very average student as a child. Like, I was
Yeah,
C's across the board. Ain't no way I'm getting an A. There's no way. Maybe in like computer science or whatever, but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no shot. How far along were you in like education? Because oh man, I always forget the Aussie system. In the UK, it's like
Mm.
it's like primary school, secondary school, then you have college, which is the 2 years, and then university. In the US, it's like high school is our college, and then they have college, which is university. Is that the same
Yeah.
way it works in Oz? I can't remember.
It's basically you got primary school from grade 1 to 6, and then
Yeah,
middle school for 2 years. But it's basically you got 12 years of schooling.
yeah,
High school is the last 3 years,
and then
and then you're on
university,
to
right?
uni. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did you apply to university, or like were you in university by the time you were in academy? Like, how did that timeline end up matching out?
So I got into the academy, the Uprising Academy, after the World Cup in 2018. So our summer, so the end of the year in 2018, I joined the academy, I think, because we had a pretty successful World Cup run as the Aussies.
Yeah,
We made it out of the group stage against like Sweden, Denmark, um, and we went out of that group with China, which was pretty impressive.
yeah,
We
that's a
almost beat them.
sick group. Yeah,
Yeah,
China's pretty sick though,
we
unfortunately.
went 3-2.
That's good.
But yeah, we lost to like Yushui and Shai and Leave, so
Yeah,
it's hard to beat those guys. Um, so I left the academy then, and that was my last year of school, or going into my last year of school. So like senior year or year 12 for us, and I think um, it was a tough choice, because I think my parents developed like their perception of what the Overwatch scene was and everything a lot on that World Cup trip, because they went to Thailand. They got to talk to Scott a lot, which I think
oh
was a
really?
big thing. Yeah. Um, Scott told them all they wanted to know, and he was really real. And he said that there's windows in like esports, and if you don't take it, then there might not be another one. There might be another one, but there is an opportunity, so you just gotta, you know, go for it. Is basically what he said. So that's what I did. I left my last year of high school. I still did it online, so I finished high school, got
Oh, that's good.
the paper and everything, which was good. But I hated doing it online while I was in the academy. It was awful. It was hard to do well, and basically had no teachers, so it was just me trying to learn all the content by myself.
Yeah, that sounds rough, especially for that
Yeah,
age too, right? Like you don't like you're. I guess some people are like, oh, I fucking love education. Like I love learning
yeah,
about everything, you know. But like I think most kids are in the boat of you need guidance at the end of the
yeah.
day, right? So I
Well,
guess you were the same in that kind of boat.
yeah. In school, I didn't do well with like the task that said, "Go do it yourself." Go
Right? Yeah,
work
yeah.
through the assignment. I was good at listening and like taking information and talking to my teachers. So when that got taken out, it was like really tough. But um, yeah, I managed to finish my last year of high school in the academy, which was not
And
bad.
that would have been on NA times as well. I guess it really wouldn't matter because you're doing it online, I suppose.
Yeah, they said there was no classes. It was just you got to do the assignments and
Right,
then the exam basically. So
right. That's
yeah,
yeah. That sounds my worst nightmare. Not having like guidance or anything, and
that's
like, oh,
awful.
do it yourself. It's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, form your own kind of timetable. I said,
yeah.
take a quick gander back then. Before, because you mentioned CS before, was that like your first introduction to competitive games? Was CS?
Uh, I think so. I think I was always competitive at games, like, but that was probably the first actual scene and you know structured tournaments and everything that I saw. If we want to go way back, I was super into Halo
Yeah. Oh yeah.
originally.
Hell yeah.
Um, Halo 4 was like the game that I just played all day, every day. It's just so fun. Halo 3 before that a bit.
Yep.
And I got guys on there like I was so young at this time. Like I was in primary school, so I was in like grade 3 or 4.
God, you must have
Um,
been what, like 12? No,
yeah,
wait, 12? Yeah, something like that, right? Holy
12, 11,
shit, yeah.
10, like super young,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
playing. And you'd get, because I mean, I got pretty good at Halo 4 and I was good on controller. And you get these guys like asking, "Oh, do you want to join my clan and all this?" And
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
join it. So I just loved beating people and being like the best guy on the team and whatever. So that was fun. But yeah, I think the first proper competitive experience was CS.
Was that your first like we'll discount the like Halo clans because that's a
Yeah,
weird one, but what was your first professional team or like not professional team, but like what you'd count as a proper team? Was it in CS or was it in a different game?
it was in CS. It was called Exto Gaming or something,
Okay.
and we made like a Facebook group chat with all our teammates, and
Nice.
it was short lived, as all of those amateur teams are. But we played a couple times, and that's when you get introduced to like how to scrim and a few tournaments and whatever. But it was mostly like I was a huge fan of the scene. I just like loved watching. I think TSM at the time, the Danish guys were my favorite team,
Oh
and
yeah.
just I think it was all my mates at the time as well. We were super into it, and um, it was just a lot of fun.
Did that lead straight into Overwatch from there? Because like most people, well, like Europeans, it's like TF2. It's like TF2 and CS, like the big
Mm.
competitive games. Did you have any like inkling to play TF2, or did you dabble in it a little bit?
I played I played TF2 before I played like Halo or like at the same time. I had
Oh yeah, okay.
a 10 FPS laptop that I played it on, um, with just the trackpad. So that was a
Oh,
super
the
fun game.
trackpad. Oh,
Yeah,
tragic.
yeah. It was just a dream to like have a functioning
Yeah.
computer that would run it because I just knew that it would be like so fun at the time, and it was. Um, and that bled on into CS with the trackpad for a bit until I finally got my first computer in grade 8. I think I actually did it because there was something in our schooling where you needed to do like needed to take on a new skill um, as like part of some subject or whatever, and I decided to build my own computer. So I did that
Oh,
for my new skill, um, which helped me out in the off time as well. So yeah, I think I played a bit of TF2, but um, yeah, most of it was in CS. I got pretty good, but it was so established. CS is such an established game that
yeah, it
as
is.
a young kid, you cop a lot of abuse as well, um, which is just how it was. And so uh, it was just too hard to break into the scene, not knowing anyone, being the first kind of game and a young
Yeah,
kid. So I was just still playing for fun until Overwatch came out on the beta, and then it just started with some friends.
just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, yeah, just playing with
It's
mates and ranked and
yeah. I mean, that's it, right? Were you in a group of friends that like you were definitely the better player out of all of them, and it was kind of like, oh, we're all playing together, but then it's like, oh, like I'm slowly climbing way past you
yeah,
guys. Was that
yeah.
the case with you?
That's exactly what happened. I mean, like I played with all my friends. We were in plat or like rank 50 when the first season came out, so proper plat. Um, I think it was 2 seasons with just playing with my friends in school, and then I remember there was one holiday, so one school holiday for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where all my friends went on vacation with their like families. So they went to you know up the coast or to a different country just for a holiday, and I didn't go anywhere, and so I didn't have much to do. So I just played ranked a lot in those 3 weeks, um, and that was the season that I got to GM, and so
Cool.
after that it was kind of uh, a bit less playing with my friends and more just trying to rank up.
Very so lucky. What
Mm.
season was that? Season two? Season three?
Season 3, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
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 first time you at GM. Damn. And then what happened after that? Because Australia, in general, is like quite small of a region. Like when it comes down to it, especially at kind of the upper ends. I see players every now and then, or like content creators from Oz, like you have to play on NA, otherwise you're
yeah,
not really going to be able to find games. Were you kind of pushed in that direction when you? I guess Overwatch was pretty popular to begin with, like super huge,
yeah.
right? What was the kind of deal with that? Were you like struggling to find people and then you moved to a different region, or did you kind of just play in your home region and find teams from there?
At the time, it was pretty like it was good enough.
Right.
There were like 3 solid teams, 4 solid, you know, you'd say contenders, but contenders hadn't started yet. So
Yeah.
there was a system going on, and there was enough teams and enough players to have like a rankings and stuff. So there wasn't much of like VPNing or anything. It wasn't as easy as well. So there was no like exit lag or
Yeah.
um,
Right. There's so many VPNs now. Yeah.
yeah. I think uh, I think at the time there was the top Australians who moved over to Taiwan. Um,
Oh.
blank esports. So like Trill, Gumba, a few of those other guys. They were playing in the Pacific region and the Pacific contenders before Australia got its own contenders. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of team hopping, and um, there was kind of a distinguished hierarchy of who was the best and who was punching a bit.
Did you who was the first person to kind of notice you or like say, hey, actually you're pretty sick? Like I didn't see you on ladder all the time. Was there anybody that kind of dragged you up from the masses?
There was there's a guy at the time. I'm sure if some OS people watch this from back in the day, they'll know. His name was Thunder Kitty. He was just a random streamer for an org called Legacy,
Oh yeah,
and he was just a streamer. I think he played on a few teams before that, but he would just play ranked every day, and I played with him a couple times, and then we duoed. And once you play in ranks like all the time, people just get to know you.
yeah,
It's just how it goes. So he was the first guy of like a status or who had a profile that kind of talked to me and you know saw me. So that was a good first leap. But um, the first proper team or proper player was called Graphics, and he was a main support for Darksided, who I ended up joining. Um, but yeah,
What role did you join as? Was it always off tank or like
yes,
tank? I guess now.
I was always just the Diva Zarya at the time. Um, I think Diva was just hard busted for like a year, so it was just mostly Diva. Um, and yeah, it was that team, so Darksided and Four Legs, who had Face as a main support,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, so he was an old player back in the day. So Face, Tomo, he might know, as a he was a TF2
Kind
legend.
of rings a bell. Yeah, kind of rings a bell.
Um, but yeah, so they were the the best DPS and the best players and the best team.
It just kind of snowballed. And let's talk about the Uprising Academy then, because that's kind of a big leap, like going especially into like a straight up an academy team. How did you end up getting like scouted, or like how did you approach the team as a player? Was it kind of, yeah, I don't know, like I with a lot of these early grassrooty kind of things, it's either like somebody, they pull you in, or like maybe there's open trials. Like how did you get onto Uprising Academy?
Um, I can't really remember, to be honest. I don't know if Gumbo was on Uprising at the time, because he was on Boston for a bit, so I'm not sure if he was around uh while I was on the academy. But I think Boston was the team that was the one willing to take risks on players from like different regions. Like, you know, previously they had like Alamau, and a lot of these people didn't work out, but they always looked at every region. So I think um, it was good that we did well in the World Cup, because they saw that and whatever. And a lot of the other players on our team did well too. Like Trill went to Envy, or um, Gumba became a coach for Valiant or Boston. So, I think it was kind of lucky that there was a team looking. Um, and so I just got to talking with them. And while I was in the World Cup in LA in the final stage, it was good because you got to talk to a lot of different people, a lot of different teams, and you kind of build your network and get your name out. So that was
And that
probably how,
helps. That's esports. Build the
yeah, pretty
network, get
much.
your name out there. Maybe someone will give you a shot. And hey, it ended up working out, right? Obviously, you're on
Yeah.
Boston Uprising. Now you're on Vancouver Titans. And like you said, you got a pretty sick DPS line this year. So, it's pretty exciting. I mean, let's talk about this year just a little bit. Like with the Vancouver Titans, like what happened with you in the off season? Was it just kind of you were just looking to find a team? Like, were there any players you want to kind of gravitate towards? Like, how did that? How did you end up getting picked up for Titans?
Um, I think, well, I definitely knew that I wanted to leave Boston. Um, I was talking to them for a bit because they wanted to rebuild as well, and
Right.
they were deciding whether to go with like a Western route or full Korean, which obviously they went with full Korean. Um, but I think they told me that a lot of that decision of whichever way they go was based on like how keen I was to stay, and I think
Yeah.
they knew that I wasn't too keen, so it ended up not working out, which is good. I didn't want to go back, so needed a change. Um, and then I was talking to a couple other teams. I was talking to Gladiators for a bit, because there was a lot of there was a lot of spots open. I think there was a lot of teams looking to just swap and change, and the 3 times that the roster lock got moved was a bit stressful.
Yeah.
Um, because people had locked in things, or they thought they had to lock in teams, and then they had more time, so it benefited the teams a bit more, made the players a bit more angsty. Um, but I was I was keen to live in a good spot this year.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah. That's a big part of it, right? As well.
yeah,
You have to live there, so you want it to at least be nice.
yeah, it's huge. Like I've been in the middle of nowhere for 4 years in
Right.
Massachusetts. So I was keen to live somewhere nice and in a city where I feel like a normal person, not just like a gamer or whatever. So that was kind of the one of the main factors. But yeah, I wanted a team that was gonna try and win, and um, it was good that the options that I had. So Titans were getting Ascoft as the coach, obviously,
Yeah.
and that was familiar. And we'd done some good things on Boston, and Baroy was a assistant coach for Boston the previous year, so I knew him as well. I knew that he was good to work with, and I could trust him. So it was kind of an easy choice in the end um, to go with the Titans. They just kind of had a lot of what I was looking for, and they wanted me, so it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking the piss about me getting older, like, going to bed early, but at the end of the day, you need to be comfortable too. So it does kind of make
Yeah,
sense. Maybe that's you showing your age too. You don't want to be a DJ and gamer anymore. I feel that.
no,
It's
it's just terrible.
it is, right? Like, I don't know if you're ever familiar with the subreddit like male living spaces or something like that. And
No.
like, oh dude, some of the photos on there are crazy. It's just like basement or like large empty room, mattress in the
Oh, with
corner, and then
monetized,
there's
yeah,
$6,000 PC set up with like fucking RGB triple monitor setup and shit. I'm like, yeah, there was at one point in
yeah,
time I was doing that, but dude, not anymore. There's absolutely no way.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's just so different to home. Like I,
yeah,
when I'm at home, I love to swim and go outside and just catch up with my friends and go out. So it's hard when I did that a lot of the times, and then you just go middle of nowhere, not much to do.
right.
Um, so that was important to me this time.
Is it? Are you from the city? Where are you from in Australia? Like, where did you kind of grow up? Was it on the coast?
Um, it's not on the coast. It's like
Yeah.
half
Don't
an
give
hour
you away
away.
your exact. Like, don't
Don't dox
dox
myself.
like your parents and stuff. But like, yeah, a rough kind of. It wasn't like countryside or anything like that. Or was it like
No, it
main
was like
city
half
kind of?
half. Like we were,
Oh, okay,
you
sure.
know, it was like little towns and
Yeah.
suburbs where all the schools are. So there's lots of people, lots to do. That's where I grew up. Going to school just as you do. And then recently, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, my parents moved to the coast, which has just been so nice. Like
Oh, sweet. That's
2 minutes
awesome.
away from the beach, so it's
No.
it's really really nice.
Man, that is sick. Dude, I've not been to Australia in years. We have family
Yeah.
out there. Like, although I couldn't tell you how far they were from the coast. It wasn't that far though, but dude,
Oh yeah.
living in Australia, it may not be the best ping to like NA servers or anything like that, but dude, it is just
So
unreal
nice.
the time I've been there. Yeah, I spent a month there when I was younger,
Yeah.
and yeah, enjoyed every single second of it. Like Sydney was sick. We went to Cairns, Adelaide. Where else
Yeah.
did we go? Like, Kangaroo Island, like all that kind of stuff. Like we did
Yeah.
loads of different bits and pieces, and it was fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Is that something you kind of miss? Because Vancouver's it's like very different to Australia. It's very like, I'm assuming you're in the bigger city area, like a metropolis kind of area. Is that
Yeah.
something you don't mind? Like, would you prefer being hot, sunny kind of weather, or you don't mind the cold?
Um. I mean, I've been here for like a month, and it's just been rainy and cold the whole time.
Oh, no way.
So it's a bit annoying. There are some nice days, and I'm told that it gets warmer. And it's nice, but I like it here too. I've been here for a holiday 2 years ago for about two
Okay.
weeks and loved it. So I find it's like the good bits of America, kind of like the NA culture, and it still feels quite homey because there's the mountains, there's the ocean, like it's got
Right.
some good scenery, but it's a big city as well, so there's lots to do. But I definitely miss home. Um, just the people and just the place. It's like you can't beat it. So
No. You can never be home. Like, no matter what anybody says, like, oh, this country's great, whatever, dude.
yeah,
I'm from like a pretty, not like a small town, but where I like grew up as a child, like it was pretty tiny,
mm,
and there's nothing quite like it at all. Like, even I love living in LA, don't get me wrong, although taxes suck. But you know, it's dude, I jump at the chance every time I get to go home.
Yeah.
I assume you go home obviously every off season, right? Is there any other times you kind of take a trip back? Because it's quite the trip as well. It's like what 18 to 20 hours, right? From
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Well, uh, Vancouver to Sydney is 14 hours or so,
Oh,
just
okay.
a one way, which is not too bad,
Not
honestly.
actually that bad. Wow. Okay.
Because previously in Boston East Coast, it took me 6 hours to get from LA to Boston, and then LA to Sydney is
Yeah.
basically 14 as well. So
Rough.
that was a long, grueling process, and with a layover, it's really tough, you know. So it's pretty impossible to ever visit home, even if there was a massive break. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'll go back before the end of the season. Um, I've got some people visiting me this time from home, which is nice.
Oh, that's sick.
Um,
Wow.
in the mid-season break slash World Cup qualifying period, which I'm excited for. Bring a bit of home to me, so that's very nice. But yeah, it's a long way still.
Yeah, I mean, still, like, even to the UK from here, it's like 10 hours
Mm.
plus. Like, depends on the weather, I guess. And just, I think it's like longer coming back than it is going there, but it's still like a long
Yeah,
time and a
yeah,
plane trip away. Like, it's not
yeah.
just down the road, you know. It's still tough living away from home and the family, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's kind of talk about World Cup then, because you just mentioned that. It's, dude, I don't know about you. Definitely one of my favorite times of the year. Like, I was
Yeah.
so sad when it got cancelled, obviously because of COVID and whatnot. But my god, like it's like the one of the staples in like Overwatch,
Mm.
uh, like the ecosystem as an esport. And I'm so happy it's back. Like, have you Australia done trials or anything like that yet? I knew a few people that were going to play in it, but
Yeah. Um, it's one of my favorite events ever as well. Like I think some of the best memories I have playing is on the World Cup and just hanging out as well. Like the the mateship we had on the team in 2018 and 2019 is super memorable. Um, Australia's always had the fighting underdog spirit as well, pretty much in all World Cup sort of sports. Um, so it's one of my favorites. But yeah, we've done trials, and I'm looking forward to this year. So
good to hear. Yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be it's a bit of a weird year with all the wild cards and stuff like that, but it looks like it's going to be pretty sick. Me and Johnny actually this morning, just the listeners and the viewers, it's the 16th of the 4th or 16th of April when we're recording this. And we just did the show match between Sweden and Denmark, and I'm like, God, these two teams are in fucking wild card. Like, holy shit!
yeah,
Like, they are ridiculously good. Like, the level of skill that has gone up from like World Cup to World Cup, because I don't know if you ever looked back at 2017 World Cup, how much of a
ah,
meme that was. Dude,
yeah,
I'm looking at Team UK, I'm like, none of these people were like good. There was like
no,
one person on their team. I'm like, they're all content creators. Like, what is
yeah,
this? It's just gotten so much better over the years. It is just
yeah,
nuts how much talent there is.
mm. Yeah. It's just so fun to watch, and every person has like a team to back, and
Yeah.
it's just I think it's one of the most exciting like tournaments because Overwatch League is good, of course, but there's just an extra level of competitiveness when it's your country, and
It's the pride
it's
thing too, right? It's
yeah,
just
it's
it's all fun
nationalism.
and
It's
games, but it's like my country better win. Like
yeah,
I want them to win. Like you're all rooting for the same thing, and you're all like yourself, like playing for the same thing. Like
mm,
it's definitely a different spirit. It gets a lot of casual people involved too, which is obviously really good for esports and
yeah.
really good for
It,
the Overwatch League in turn. To be fair as well.
it's funny because the teams you mentioned and the show match that happened today, that that was the match that uh, Australia needed for qualification in the 2018
Oh,
World Cup.
I didn't know
So
that.
it was a bit of a rock paper scissors group. Denmark were looking really strong at the time. They had like Shax and a lot of other good players, and they were just like a dark horse team. And Sweden was kind of third of the group, third or fourth. But if Australia wanted to qualify, we needed Sweden to beat Denmark because we lost to Denmark, and
Oh yeah.
they
Okay. Head to
stepped up
heads.
and
Yee.
took it over.
So easy. It's
Yeah.
it's I guess it's kind of funny. I've never personally been in that situation, but it's having your fate being decided by another team is pretty rough. But then obviously when
Mm.
it goes your way, it's like, well, you didn't have to play that one, so all good. Like you did it, so thanks.
Yeah.
That's sick. It's cool to look at all the players that have been on the teams over the years too. I remember obviously Johnny was on a team at one point. Obviously Scott as well. Like so
Yeah,
many
we
players.
smashed Johnny.
Yeah.
Absolutely ripped him.
I mean, that's good. Honestly, good, good. His ego needs to be checked on the daily. So yeah, I'll make sure I'll tell him that. I'll make sure I link him to this exact timestamp.
Always remind him. It's good. It's great stuff.
Is I did want to. I kind of skipped over it before, but when it came to like schooling and stuff, you said you finished high school and whatnot, but were you looking to go into university at that time? Obviously, with your career kind of taking off, was it something that you were interested in, or were you going to go do like be a tradie, or like how was that thought process there? And like, barring the competitive side of your career, did you want to go to university, and what did you want to study?
Yeah, I was gonna go to uni after the academy because I sort of got dropped after the 1 year of academy because they wanted to go with like a European team, which at the time was just a terrible decision. Um, but I also had a rough year on the academy. I was like, nah, if they don't want to keep me in whatever, then I'm done. I think it's too hard. Been doing it for a year, lost my year of high school for it, so I'm gonna pack it up and go to uni. And so I applied and got in, and I think I did one half of the semester at the very start, and then half of the semester, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks into it, we got COVID started. So it was all online,
Right.
and we were stuck at home playing games again, basically. Um, but I wasn't really playing Overwatch. I was just playing with mates again, just doing uni, hanging out. So uh, I basically got a message one day from Ascoft randomly. He said, "Hey, do you have any VODs or whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can get you some." So I sent him like 5 ranked games that I had. Um, I played those and sent them to him, and they weren't impressive or anything, but they really needed a tank player, because I think during COVID they could only get an American, and Bruceson wanted to retire.
Oh, okay.
Um, so they needed a tank, and they had to have an American citizenship to play. And I think I was pretty much the only option they had. So they signed me up and ended up doing not bad, and it kind of went on from there. And I deferred uni for a little bit because I wasn't sure actually if I was going to keep playing Overwatch even after the first half of that season, because I still wasn't sure if I was fully into it or still had it. I had no idea. I just wanted to just say that I'd been in Overwatch League and I'd, you know, been there and done that.
Yeah.
But
Good reason to do it.
um, yeah, no, it reignited the fire in me, and I knew I could do it, so I just kept going. But yeah, I one day I might go back to uni. We'll see. It's been 3 years since then, so
I mean, it's
I've
it's
got time.
always there, right? What did you start studying?
I did. I started a bachelor of exercise and sports science.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was like a general kind of um, sports physio, like nutrition degree, um, movement of the body, and all sort of aspects of like those areas where you do that, and then you kind of specialize at the end of it, or it would help you progress onto further, um, more solid. Like I was super interested in sports psychology actually, so
Right.
that was one thing that I wanted to do. But you can't just start off with a sports psychology degree. You
Yeah.
kind of have to
You have to lead
go
into it, kind of
through.
thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that was, but it was a subject at the uni and in the bachelor's degree. So I did that, and I liked it. I really liked it. and I liked a couple of the other ones, but you know, I guess Overwatch kind of took over.
Yeah, it kind of takes its place, right? I mean, like you said
Mm.
before, it's not an opportunity that comes around ever, really. Like, you've
Yeah.
just got to kind of take it. You can always do university later, which is funny, by the way. My brother did exactly the same degree.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he graduated, yeah, and he's
Yeah.
doing something with a company that does like looks at athletes and stuff and the
Yeah, that's
physio
cool.
nutrition kind of thing. Yeah, like he
Mm.
does that, and he travels a lot now, which is I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like my mum's not happy because I'm in LA and then my brother's fucking everywhere, so it's just
Yeah.
like, well, that sucks.
No one's home.
But yeah, he loved it. He was always into kind of sports and stuff. Was that something you were into as a kid too? You said obviously you were always outside, kind of like to the
Mm.
beach or whatever, right? Were you big into sports as a kid?
Yeah. I played a lot of different sports as a kid. I did club soccer for school and for club just to, every weekend, which was fun. Did that with mates and did some water polo, played some
Oh,
tennis,
nice.
basketball. Uh, so I did a lot of different stuff, and I was I was alright at all of them. I don't think I was the best at any of them. Um, there was a lot of different kids who got scholarships and who were freak at them and way better. But I was always competitive and super super into it. So yeah, sports were definitely a good place to fuel my competitiveness and my passion for like getting better at things.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it worked out right, and now you can feel that into being the best you can be on tank. So that's
Exactly.
all good. That's it's quite interesting because now obviously you can go back if you really want to. Is that something you'd definitely jump straight back into, or would you kind of, if for example this is your last year, like would you say, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, kind of realign, and then find something else I'm kind of interested in, or you just jump straight back into like the sports science side of things?
I'd probably take a bit of time to be honest. I'm not 100% sold on the degree yet or going back to the same uni. If anything, I could try a different one or a different degree, but I've got time to figure that out. I'll probably take a
Yeah,
bit of time to try different things and figure out what I like to do and find something else. But it is a bit daunting because I know a lot of ex esports players and in general like sports players. Once they retire, they kind of like there's that passion or it's just there's a hole, and you can't
definitely.
really plug it with anything. So that'll take some time to like get back on my feet in terms of knowing what I want to do and like having the same sort of drive for something because it's hard. I'm doing this with like everything I got. I'm moving across the world for it, and um, it's all I think about every day. It's
Yeah,
pretty constant,
for sure.
so definitely take some time to think about what's next.
Yeah, I mean that just kind of proves that you love it, right? If you think about it every
Mm.
day, like that's how I feel about commentary. Honestly, it's just like, dude, I wish I could literally do it every single day. I can't. It
Yeah,
sucks, but it's something that you're just truly passionate about. And if I'd be in the same boat as you, like if I stop doing it next year or like next week,
Mm.
what the hell is going to plug that hole?
yeah,
Like, what can I possibly do to kind of get that level of fulfillment out
yeah,
of something else? It's definitely a tough thing. I think yeah, taking a break and kind of making sure you get your bearings right is probably the
yeah,
smart thing to do. Did you
yeah.
have kind of a dream kind of job when you were growing up? Was there something you, apart from obviously the sports kind of side of things, or even now, like is there something that you would maybe want to go into, or like you're like, okay, this is something that I'd love to pursue maybe later down the line?
Uh, I have no idea about like a normal sort of job that I'd want to do. I never really had one. Like I said, I've been watching CS:GO tournaments since I was like 12, and I just always wanted to play on stage and like compete. So that was basically all my focus, and even the sports psychology stuff. Like my my want to do that only really came from playing Overwatch because
Right.
um, I had a lot of different um, players and experiences with like the mental side, and that's kind of what picked up my interest for sports psychology. So I'm not sure what sort of thing I'd do, but I don't know. There'll be something.
There's always something.
Yeah.
It's always something. I mean, you can pick it up. You'll be all right. Even if you need to go to uni to even find out if you need to. Oh, sorry. Find if you actually enjoy the thing that you're doing. You know, like that's with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know if you've kind of thought about this too, but it's something that I've realized, especially my like last year of university, was like, dude, people go to university way too young. Like, good God. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
what I wanted to do until I was in my final year, my fourth year, after I took a gap year, and was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. This shit sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do something else. And I'm doing this now, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it feels bad. Like, I don't want to say people
Yeah.
are forced into going to university. A lot of people are like, oh, take a gap year, you know, between college or like high school and
Mm.
uni. But, mate,
Well, yeah,
shit's rough.
it's hard because I just think you got to do something like whether it's a gap year or whether it's going to uni. It's just kind of the you know the flow chart of like what you do after school. Like you go do a gap year or you go to uni is what
Yeah.
a lot of basically the two main options after school. So I I just was going to uni because that's what everyone does. That's what you kind of do at home. Um, I didn't really feel the need to take like a gap year and travel across Europe or whatever, which is what a lot of people do. Um, I definitely want to do that at some point, but I think right after school, I was kind of just, I got to do something, and I was kind of interested in the sports degree. So I think you got to do it, and then you got to figure out, do you like it? Yes, keep going.
Exactly.
Do you not? Try something else. And I think that's what I'm gonna have to do after Overwatch is the same thing. I'm gonna have to just keep trying stuff. And I think the one thing that's gonna really annoy me is if I ever play games just casually or whatever again, and I'm not good enough or I'm not that good. It's gonna piss me off so much just because I know that if I tried, I could be alright, or just or I even don't have it in me anymore. But that'll be fine. I'll get over that.
Yeah, like being at that top level at one point and then
Mm,
coming down and being like, wow, I'm actually kind of bad at this game. Like,
yeah.
I need to be better. Like, holy shit, why am I not like one of the top ranks? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that really being a mental barrier that you need to kind of overcome.
Yeah. I mean, all the
Hey, that's where
kids
the
who
sports
just play
psychology comes in.
younger,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
it's always just kids who are better than you, younger
I
than
know,
you,
dude. Like,
playing
hey,
at an earlier age. It's bound to happen.
age has got fuck all to do with it. To be fair, look at the fucking CS heads. Like, bro,
That's
some of
true.
them are old, man. I don't know if you probably do if you're watching CS around the same time as me, like Virtus Pro, when
Yeah.
every single one of them had kids, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. You're
I know.
playing the highest level of competitive CS, and you have kids, and obviously they're all like over 30 as well,
Mm,
and it feels like, and I don't know if you've kind of sensed this too. It feels like esports, in a way, it's like, oh no, it's only the 16 to 21-year-olds. Like those are the only good players. Um,
yeah.
there is nothing else. No one else can be good at this game, and like it doesn't even
Yeah.
no matter what it is. Overwatch, CS, League of Legends. Like very rarely you find a player over the age of like 25 plus,
Mm,
nearing 30s that are at the top level. And I don't think that's because of lack of skill either.
no, I think it's a lot of other factors. It's probably just like the drive, and you know, you look at it like any other sports as well. And it's the same thing. A lot of the young guys have that like peak age bracket where that's where most of the players are. It's because they've had the younger bit, and they've been super motivated to get to the top. And I think the hardest thing to do is, once you're the best, is like staying the best for so long, because you kind of chasing the top is one of the main motivations for a lot of people in any sport, and especially gaming. It's like, you know to stay winning majors or something at CS for years and years and years is so hard, because you have to keep finding that motivation and keep working just as hard, and get not settle for winning a couple are winning. If you just want to keep winning, you have to keep doing what you're doing. You can't take your foot off the gas. So
Yeah, I mean, what is your biggest motivation then? You'd say when it comes to competing.
I think I've always wanted to be better than like the guy who's one above or something. So I think it started way back in Australia with like Adam. I always wanted to be better than Adam because
Okay.
Adam was the best tank for sure. Uh, he was playing before I was, so I was the new guy, and I always wanted to be better than him. And then it was like the next guy and the next guy. Um, but also just like tournaments. Tournaments are super fun and super motivating because they're like where you feel the most adrenaline and like the most hype, and but where the stakes are the highest. So I think um, just getting better is one of the main motivations for me.
Just being better than that other guy in the server,
Yeah,
right? That's it. You just want to have a better KDA, you want to have less deaths, more damage, etc.
pretty much.
Yeah. Is there any player right now that you're like, I guess, look up to in a way, but obviously you also want to kind of take down the league currently? That is like super sick on tank, in your opinion?
Um, I mean, it's just all the good ones. Like someone's really good. He's good at everything. That guy, like he's super good at the off tanks, even as a old main tank player. Hawk's really good at most things. Kaluge as well. Um, just all those guys are super good, and I want to be in that conversation. So kind of motivates me to get better and edge them out.
Sure. I mean, hey, you're getting there. Your team does look fucking stacked this year. I mean, your DPS as well, like yourself, obviously. I think a lot of people are quite high on the Vancouver Titans as a team. They obviously over the last few years, it's been rough ever since like Runaway for the Titans. You know, like they have
Yeah.
been the oddball team in a way. Obviously, Titans in general have had tons of good players like come and go through the team. Aspire being one of them, and then Shockwave as well, who's also really good. And now, obviously, this iteration of the roster does look like one of the better ones over the last few years after kind of the Runaway departure. So, you know, I think you got something good going on. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, season starts soon. Like what, 10 days, 10, 15, like something
Yeah,
like
week
that.
and a bit.
Week and a
So
bit. Yeah, it's soon. TM. Yeah,
mm,
it's gonna be a good time. I think motivation is obviously one big factor, and you talked about this at the very beginning. But players that kind of lose that motivation, or maybe they don't really have it, they're just kind of there to be there. Would you say
yeah,
that's kind of a pet peeve of yours, especially in a team environment? I can imagine that weighs a lot on people that the exact opposite.
yeah. I mean, it's hard because you kind of have to all have the same view on that and like the same alignment um, with like how you want to play the game or how you want to just conduct yourself. Like if you've got one guy who's just there to show up and kind of get paid to play, and everyone else is trying to get better and trying to like really win and really beat people, it kind of holds you back, and it can just cause a rift. Like you know, people will get angry with each other, and then it just grows and grows and grows, like resentment and everything. So it's hard to. I think that's one of the hardest things to manage in a team right now in Overwatch is just people kind of having that winning mentality, which I think actually the London Spitfire got right, and that's why they punched so high last year. What they finished sixth when everyone thought
Yeah,
they would be
every
terrible.
thought they would be super low all the time.
Yeah, um, and I think it's because they have that like culture of they they might not be the best players at like head to head or like super mechanical whatever, um, but they really wanted the same thing and they all worked hard and they kind of formed this environment where they can improve and actually do really well. So I think it really helps when everyone's kind of on the same page and wanting to go above and beyond.
It's it, it's funny because that also kind of it does relate to a lot of talent work, I think, as well. And I think a lot of industries where you're just trying to be the best at what you can be, whether that's playing, commentating, you know, analysis work or whatever, you want to be the best. And seeing maybe, no, not necessarily Overwatch, but like just in every game or like every esport, I can imagine this happens in fucking FIFA as well, you know, like you want to be the best at what you do, but there's people that are kind of there turning up and it's just getting the paycheck, and it's definitely a frustrating thing. There was a very good book I read. Oh my god, it's going to kill me. I need to find this book name. But it was Jocko Willink. I don't know if you've ever heard of.
I've seen
Jocko.
that. He's the Navy guy.
Yes,
Navy
US
SEAL
US Navy SEALs. Yeah, Extreme Ownership. Yeah, Extreme Ownership, Lead and Win is a book I read a few months ago now, and that book is. Dude, he's a fucking hard nut. That guy has seen some shit. And his ability as well to kind of transcribe it is also exceptional. And like his mentality about approaching people and approaching situations and like how to do that, and how your mindset should be going into those kind of interactions is like, yeah, it kind of blew my mind a little bit. And obviously everybody kind of has these situations in daily life. It's not just like on the fucking battlefield, like it's in day-to-day interactions too. And I always thought to myself after reading that book, I'm like, man, so many people could do a lot of more good work if they just read this book. It's an interesting one. Do you read a lot? Is that something you do in your free time?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, not too much.
Not so much.
I bought a book in my off-season time. Very slowly getting through it.
Just a habit, that's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, would love to read more. I think everyone would love to read more.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, hey, I want to read more, and then you're like, you do buy a few books or whatever.
Yeah, you gotta read.
You've got to actually go and read the goddamn book.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just kind of getting into it. Yeah, for me, it was very much forming a habit. I'm very much of like a habit kind of guy, and that's why like my bedtime is like I get into bed at like 9, and then I get up at like 6 or like 5:30, 6 a.m. and I just every single day do the same thing, and that for me helps a ton. And there was another good book I read, or I'm reading right now, which kind of illustrates the point of like everybody feels this way, dude. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, motherfuckers from like 2,000 years ago, and like he experiences the same bullshit that we're experiencing now, and it's crazy. It's like this person like is just coasting through life. Like, how should I view that, or like how should I interact with it? And it's the same fucking thing. Like, people have been feeling this stuff for centuries at this point, and they're not new problems. They are very, very old problems that could be traced back like thousands of years. So
and people coasting is so hard to deal with because you can't tell someone to try, or you can't tell someone like, you know, we need you to try harder, because they just won't. Like, it's something that comes from within themselves, and like if they really want it, they'll do it, or you know, they'll work for it. But if you try and tell people or whatever, it's just not going to work, and that's one of the hardest problems. So.
Yeah, well, there's a super old adage, like you can lead I forget which animal, maybe a cow or sheep, to water, but you can't force them to fucking drink the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible to do so. You can show someone that they're wrong, but until they know they are wrong and they believe they are wrong, it's not possible to change their mind or their way of thinking. And the Marcus Aurelius book and the Jocko Willink book as well, like, it really illustrates that point. 2 very different times, but the same problem, which is what I find quite fascinating about the whole thing. And it kind of leads into your kind of sports psychology as well, like how athletes and like esports players think about the game, think about the teams, and think about like personal relationships and like how motivation affects them, and all these different factors that come into it. It's an interesting field, and I wonder if esports is ever going to get to that point where like sports psychologists will end up coming in. I know TSM at one point for their League of Legends team had a sports psychologist. But I wonder if esports will reach that point
Yeah,
where we're
well,
getting
we
those.
we the Titans have a psychologist. I think
Oh,
is
okay. Wow.
actually a psychologist. So we do a session with him every 2 weeks. Anyway, he talks about how to be better, like 1% at a time, and not that's not doing stuff in the game. Um, that's like doing morning routines. So
Yeah.
we're like full energy and ready to go. So um, it's good and it helps, and um, it is the 1%ers, and that's how you kind of get the maximum performance out of each day. Is like making sure that you do those little things, and so I think um, there's so much mental side in esports, like in every esport, um, and you see that. I'm sure you've watched the TI documentary, the
Yeah.
Dota. Yeah, like watching that is just incredible, and like getting to see the miracle run of those guys um, doing well and like punching up, and so I think the mental side of esports is super important.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned London Spitfire a minute ago, like how they
Mm.
managed to punch up. Is a lot of it is on that mental side of things, and yeah, getting a routine and like showing up and trying your hardest. And the 1% thing's quite interesting too, because you don't need to wait a whole year to be 100% better. It's only 100 days. If you're 1% better every single day, it's only 100 days. 365 days in a year, you're 365% better than you were last year. It's
Yeah,
only like small little increments that don't seem a lot in the short term, but in the long
yeah,
term, kind of goes hard, and you
mm.
you will end up improving. And that's, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing that has motivated me in a way with commentary. Is like, if I'm just a percent better every single cast, or I fuck up one less word every single fucking cast, like
Yeah,
that is a motivating factor for myself. Um,
yeah,
And I think, yeah, esports and players and everybody, it's exactly the same. You could apply that to fucking anything in the fucking world, like
mm.
crocheting, or like, you're a fucking smith. You fucking make swords
Reading
for a
one
fucking
page
living.
more.
Exactly, exactly. You read one page more,
Yeah,
and you are going to be better the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well,
a long road.
with motivation, like in my degree or my semester of my degree that I did, we learn about like the different types of motivation and like which one is the best. And it's kind of about how we said, people have to try and they have to find it within themselves, and that's intrinsic motivation, which is motivation which comes from yourself, and it's just the strongest one by far. You could have like external factors, like you want money or you want to beat the other guy, which is not intrinsic motivation. Um, but uh, so you can get by with those sorts of things, and you can go far. But to go the furthest and to do the absolute best, like you have to have that intrinsic sort of drive to win.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that could be seen in like the best athletes in the world.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
the drive, like even I was watching the NBA today. It was Minnesota versus the Lakers,
Yeah,
um, and I was like, God fucking damn! Like LeBron is just kind of he's just kind of a freak of nature when you think
yeah,
about it. Like that guy. And the amount of fucking commercials I see with that guy in, it's ridiculous. I'm like, how the fuck do you
yeah,
find the time to be one of the best basketball players of all time
yeah,
and do all this other stuff? Do you know what I mean? It is wild to think of like how much time in a day there is. And the most successful people always say, like, if I could just not sleep, or I could have more time in the fucking day, then I could get
yeah,
more done. You're just like, God damn, there is something different about them. But they're just people at the end of the
yeah,
day. Like, they're just no different. They're a bag of flesh and bones like the rest of us,
yeah.
Like,
Well, he's been at the top for so long, like, and that's like we said before, like you just have to keep finding that motivation
yeah.
and stuff, and he has, like, and that's like the goats of any sport, any esport. Like they just keep finding it, keep pushing, and they don't let up. So
Yeah, they just don't let off the pedal. And that's what's important. Just not letting off the fucking pedal.
Yeah, which is hard, which is like super hard because
It is.
otherwise everyone would do it. Everyone would be great, but those are the things which make those guys stand out.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. And looking at even just a short span in the Overwatch League, and that like the lifespan in the esports player is pretty small, but it can be large. Like you look at players like Faker. He is still dominating the game, and he had a couple of like dark years where like he wasn't so good, but he burst on the scene in like 2012, 2013. He's only ever been on SKT, and he's still one of the best players, I'd say, in like esports as a whole. Like that dude is still so good. And every time he does an interview or like anytime there's a bit of media about it, he's the most humble motherfucker alive. Like there is no ego there, no presented ego, at least. There might be some internally, but like he's still trying his very best to win every single game. Like, that's
hard.
That is tough. It is. And there's been players that have been around since like Apex Season 1. Like, I bring this up a lot, but like Twilight, who's been around, he was on BK Stars in Season 1. And like, he is still in the Overwatch League. And I can't speak to like the mental and the motivation behind Twilight, but like, he's still a fucking sick player. Like, he's still a freak on the sticks, right? Like, his honor is still world class.
Definitely.
Which is incredible. Yeah. Do you think the GOAT conversation, this is a bit of a tangent here, but do you think the kind of GOAT conversation in Overwatch is a bit of a meme? Because people instantly called Proper the GOAT, and this is something I've been thinking about in the last like couple of weeks. It's like, I'm not sure he's like the actual GOAT yet, you know? Like, you have to be around the fucking scene at least a little bit longer than Proper. Or like, not the scene, but like the Overwatch League in a sense. A little bit longer than a year to be called the GOAT. Like, how do you kind of stand when it comes to that? Because, dude, we see players dip in and out of the league all the time, and it's hard to really solidify the GOAT, the GOATs of GOATs.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like, you see players like Birdring, like he's been so good for the majority of time he's played, but then he left, and then now he's back again, and he's still good. I think it just hasn't been enough time to like have a GOAT of Overwatch. I think once you kind of get to that 10-year mark, what we're 6 years in,
Yeah,
4 more years, and then if Prophet's still in the league, still going, then I'm pretty sure you could say he is. But there's probably a handful of players that I can think of who are still kind of pushing. And it's like Prophet, and I was gonna say Hopper, but he's actually not in the league anymore. But he was around for a long time. He was always playing well. Even the last year, he played well on his Zarias and everything. And so I think it's too early to say anyone's the GOAT, especially Proper. He's definitely the best, like one of the best players for sure.
Yeah.
Last year MVP, definitely hard carry. No doubt he could do it again, but I think it's just too little time to say someone is the greatest of all time in Overwatch.
Yeah, it is weird because I a part of me wants to compare like tenure versus other games, but then it's like, well, Overwatch hasn't been out as long as like League has, so it's hard to tell. Because Fake is definitely like the GOAT when it comes to like mid lane, and like Uzi, you could say, is probably the GOAT of ADCs at this point, and there's probably a few others that I'm probably missing out on, like top lane and whatnot, and jungle, but but Overwatch hasn't been around that long for us to have like that 10-year mark or like 8-year mark. Prophet probably closest. I would say Prophet's the GOAT at this point. Like if this season he kind of drops off a little bit, maybe you could take that back a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. All right.
This is kind of irrelevant, but one player that I would have loved to see play in Overwatch 2 is Choi Yobin.
Oh, Choi,
I
absolutely.
think he would have been so good. Like, he was already just one of the best tanks, and he kind of like
he retired
slowly. Yeah, he did. I mean, I'm sure he's living his best life, but would have loved to keep watching him.
I just want to kind of, before I wrap this up, like, quickly ask, like, how do you feel about continuing, obviously, your years in Overwatch going forward? Obviously, it's not something that I don't think a lot of players think about, like, oh, when am I going to retire kind of thing. But you obviously want to be in the league for a long time by the sounds of it. And, like, you know, your motivation is nearing all-time highs as well. Is that definitely a career goal of yours, is just kind of just keep going until you haven't got anything longer? Or is there kind of a set time and place that you're like, actually, I want to take a step back?
I think right now it's like really good. Um, like I said, I'm living in a nice place. I'm playing games for money. I'm having fun, and that's kind of what I think about now. And I still want to get better. I still have that motivation, and so as long as all of those things are kind of continuing to happen, like year by year, I'll kind of assess, not formally or anything, but just what I feel. Um, I'll just keep going. I think I may as well. Like
Yeah.
Scott said to my parents a long time ago, it's an opportunity. I definitely know that I'll miss it when I stop doing it. Um, so I want to just keep. I want to keep getting the experience. I'm meeting new teammates, new people from around the world. It's fun and enjoyable. So I may as well while I can.
Yeah, that's the best way to think about it. And
Mm.
hey, if you can't play, then you can coach, or you can come fucking cast with us. Like, yeah, it's all
Uh,
good.
there's
It's
no
all
way I'm
good.
doing that after. There's
Hey, bro, you could
no
have
way.
another Australian duo. You never know. You never know.
Ah, no, I would know. Maybe if there was a really good coaching offer, or I tried it and I really enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a part of that thing where if I'm not playing but I'm still involved, then I'll be frustrated
Right.
that I'm not playing. I'll be like, oh fuck,
I should be there. Like, holy
yeah.
shit. Like, why am I not playing?
It's easy to criticize from a top down point of view. So
Definitely.
um, we'll see.
See. Well, hopefully another 10 years. Then there you go. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off? Like, floor's open to you. Whatever you want to shout out or whatever.
Um, yeah, shout out Australia and the fans.
Well, that's good. That's perfect. Well, it's been wonderful having you on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been
Appreciate it,
good
and
fun.
hopefully everybody's enjoyed our little talk. And till next time, see you all very soon.